Hi, I'm Rich. I'm here with Al, Mo and Anand, and we've built Koala app, which is going to give you helpful tips to improve your sleep. Welcome to our demo day.
Right, hello everyone, I'm Anand and hopefully we can share our project with you about how you can get good sleep. Al will be joining me in a moment, and we've also got Mo and Rich in the audience as well. So, like many of you, I have a problem with my sleep. You can see my face. And this is how I often feel on a day-to-day basis. And this is a difficult problem. And I've got a good app on my phone. I've got some good books which tell me some advice about how I can improve my sleep. But they're not specific. They're not tailored to me, and a lot of them not based on like scientific evidence. So what I really want to know is which pieces of advice will help me improve my sleep without having to go through the whole process of trial and error. And this is important. It's not just important for me, it's important for you. So 4 out of 10 people in this room will have poor sleep, and it's associated with this host of medical and psychological problems. It'll affect your work, the cost of healthcare, heart problems, weight gain, and early death. So how can we improve our sleep? That was our question. And this is a difficult question because there is a lack of research. The existing studies which are around, they mainly focus on those with actual diagnosed health problems, like sleep apnea. There's not that many studies in healthy adults. There's very few using machine learning or big data. And wearable tech companies like Apple, they haven't published their data because it's proprietary. So what might be the solution is something called the Koala app. So this is a sleep quality predictor. It gives a tailored sleep quality score, and it offers simple lifestyle changes to improve your sleep quality. But before we talk about that, we'll just reflect on our journey that we've taken. So a lot of our data is based on a very granular and detailed data set called the Wisconsin Sleep Cohort, where over about 10 years they measured a number of variables in about 1,500, it's not patients, it's actually just employees within the Wisconsin state. This included features such as their demographic information, their health, polysomnography, which is like sleep studies, and things affecting their lifestyle, as well as psychological measures as well. And this gentleman on the left is having a sleep study done, so you can see all the various measurements which are taken of their brain, of their breathing, of their heart, and so on. And from this, we chose these targets. So wake time after sleep onset, which is essentially when you wake up in the middle of the night, you often don't remember this, and how long does it take for you to go back to bed? Or sleep efficiency, which is out of the total proportion of time that you're spent asleep, how much you actually asleep when you actually measure your sleep cycles. And your total sleep time is how much of the time that you're in bed actually, how much of it is, the duration is, how much of it is asleep. So why did we choose these targets? Well, firstly, they're very accurate because they're measured according to all of these devices. They're used academically and by professionals, and they give a very comprehensive representation of sleep quality. And a bit about our model. So we use the penalized logistic regression model mainly for the fact that it's very interpretable by users and lay people as well. We use the same model to pick all 3 targets, and our sleep quality targets were based on rigorous and robust research which was produced recently. Should put the reference there in case anyone wants to actually read it. And our scoring, we did improve on baseline accuracy by about 5%, but I point out that our recall was 95%, which means that we were able to predict those with abnormal sleep quality up to 95% of the time, which you could argue that sensitivity is most important. And our project wasn't without challenges either. So we had a lot of collinearity with the data. Classes, particularly the targets, were very imbalanced. And I'd just like to point out the lack of representativity or generalizability. So this was obviously a study based only in Wisconsin, so it can be very difficult to generalize our results to other populations and so on. So, coming back to my problem, so I think the Koala might be good for me, so I'm going to invite our resident sleep expert, Al, to take us through.
Thank you very much. Let's just move this across. Where am I going, sorry?
Yeah. On the left.
Sorry, thank you very much.
Yeah, it was the live stream. Cancel. On a different, any other tab.
Okay. Thank you. Here we go. Spinning up. Thank you very much for the audience participation. Just having a little sneeze. Okay, so welcome to our sleep app. So this is broken up into 4 pages. We have a methods page. We have a user input page where we gather some information from the user. It is just simple information that people should have to hand. But when it comes to sleep, there are also some rather complex features that can contribute to prediction, and those are all things that you might have to go to a medical professional for. So those that are actually within our medical professional input include things like cholesterol data, body measurements, etc. And we have our predictions, which we'll come to in a minute. But this is really to help Anand and try and improve your sleep needs. So let's have a look at the method. So you can come here. This will tell you about why sleep's important, why you should try to get a bit more, how Koala might actually be able to help you, how to use it, how we make your prediction, and most importantly, it shows you how you can use the app to determine what you might need to change, so where you go to find that information. But let's have a look at the inputs for you and see if we can work out why you might be having some trouble. So some of this information is already filled in, and one of the things we've asked Anand to do is to act the part of a 41-year-old male, which is the average mean age of someone in the UK. We're going to change some of this information to reflect Anand. We've already taken his height and his weight. But now we'll get on to the interesting stuff. So, Anand, how many cups of coffee would you say you have in a day?
Not many, about 5.
About 5 cups of coffee a day. Okay, that's an interesting stat. What about additional caffeinated drinks? So things like Coke, for example. What do you think you drink with that?
Well, there's the 3 Coke Zeros I have when I wake up and keep it fresh with a Pepsi Max.
Okay, so do you say you drink about the same number of like other drinks other than coffee?
Yeah, that's not many.
Do your colleagues ever refer to you as excitable? just wondering. Alcoholic beverages. How many of those do you think you have in a week?
10.
10, okay. I'm getting the feeling that maybe you underreport a little bit, so let's make it a little bit more realistic, shall we? Say probably about 15. In terms of smoking, what's your stance?
Yeah.
Do you like to smoke? And in terms of smoking, how much do you think you smoke?
Well, there's the one with breakfast and one just before I go to sleep.
So 1 or 2 cigarettes a day?
1 pack with breakfast.
Pack with breakfast. So about 14 packs a week. Okay. I think we're getting an image here. We're getting an image. We were talking a bit before about when you started smoking. How many years have you smoked?
Well, I just took it up for fun during lockdown.
It's just something to do, so a couple of years. Yeah, have to pass the time. Alright, and how are you feeling about life in general?
Very satisfied. I just completed the Wagon course.
Nice. And in terms of hours of naps of sleep, you take a few naps during the week?
I just had one just now, so a few hours.
I think I saw you. Fantastic. Okay, so we've got our information here, we've got our input, and we can make a prediction from this page. You'll see that occasionally we get a little red signal. That's actually to do with caching, but hopefully for the situation here, it just means it's working, which is great. We're going to go to the medical professional as well, and you could input more information here and then make your predictions. In your case, I had a little look at your medical records earlier and just took the advantage of filling that in for you. So we'll make a prediction. So we're going to make our prediction, and that goes through. If we then head over to our predictions page, here we are. We get a sleep summary score. That's how Koala is having sneeze at the top of the page. And the important number for you is 45%. So as we might expect with your lifestyle choices, you are below 50. So 50 is a normal range, below 50 is suggests that there's probably some changes that we could make to your lifestyle. And that breaks out into a number of categories. So we've got our target, sleep efficiency, so that's at 58%. You've got the 3 Z's there popping up, so that suggests that things are good for you. Then if we pop down to wake after sleep onset, that's 38%. So that's suggesting that it probably takes you a little bit of time to fall asleep again if you wake up in the night, and you've got a little stressed face there, which is not so good. And then in terms of total sleep duration, that's 38%. Again, you have another little stressed face, so only 1 out of 3. So let's have a think about some changes you might be able to make. Do you think you might be able to lose a little weight? Okay, so let's say you can lose a couple of kilos. Nothing too dramatic. Alcoholic beverages, I mean, what do you think you could commit to there? I'm going to suggest we move this down to, say, just the working days of the week. I mean, they're the days you really need it. Yeah. Smoking, we know this is not good, so we're going to take this one down. Perhaps you could change the packs to just cigarettes, maybe 2. And then I think naps really don't help, so we're going to take that out as well. Let's see how that changes your sleep quality. Let's push that one through. Okay, let's go. Okay, and now you're above 50%. So things have changed for you. Let's have a look. 70% for sleep efficiency. That's great. That's a significant improvement. In fact, everything's going in the right direction. The percentages have all increased, but you're still only 1 out of 3. So this is all about making some radical changes. You need some commitment here. I'm going to suggest you hit the treadmill. Let's bring this down.
18 kilos.
It's all about goals. It's all about goals. I think alcohol needs to be out for you for a little while. I think straight edge. And then in terms of cigarettes, I'm afraid we're just going to kill that for you.
We're not going to be nice.
Let's see what that does. So we'll push that through.
I think it'll reduce the weight.
Okay. Oh, was that popped up again? Hang on a second.
Only if you keep it, I think.
Not enough. Not enough of a challenge. There we go. Okay, let's check to see what that's done now. Oh, look. Up to 57%. Some radical lifestyle changes. And you're now 2 out of 3. 2 percentages over 50%. And 2 out of 3 in general. So I think if you were willing to commit to this, you could significantly improve the quality of your sleep and also the quality of your life.
Well, I think you've ruined my life.
So thank you all very much for listening to this, and I'd like to invite the other guys up to answer some questions.
Okay, are there any questions from the audience?
I have 2 questions. So my first question is why you chose classification rather than regression? And the second one is when you release the app.
He's taking the first question.
Thanks, Julio, for the question. The reason we decided to choose classification over regression is we believe that the results were much more interpretable to the average user. We did try different regression models and classification models, but we felt that the interpretability of our results and then therefore the use case of our results would be much more widely available with a classification model. And also it was much easier to test our models on classification models and get quicker feedback on our testing. And that's why we decided to use the classification model. Rich, do you want to take the second question?
Yeah, we're still in talks with some VCs, so we'll let you know when that gets in, and then we'll let you know. Thanks.
Any other questions, Tim?
Would be interested to know, well, 2 questions as well. So the first question, so one of the I guess, features of your app is obviously that you can kind of adjust certain values and see the impact that will have on your sleep, which is obviously great. But you've also got 2 kinds of inputs, right? You've got your user inputs, but then you've also got these medical professional inputs, and they are in a way related to one another. So if poor Anand shed 20 kilos, a quarter of his weight, I'm sure, for example, that would impact his cholesterol levels. And so, that I guess would be something that you would need to consider in terms of the impact of that as well. On that note, what sort of things would you want to work on next or improve in your model? Obviously, the data set is one, but what other things?
Yeah.
So I think if we had a bit more time and we were looking at this to improve it, I think one of the first things we'd do is do some sort of dimensionality reduction. So PCA would be really useful. There's sort of about 180 features in the data set. There's lots of collinearity, as you mentioned, things between weight, cholesterol, there's also going to be something between how much you drink and your weight. So if we could reduce those dimensions, make them orthogonal, that would be really helpful, I think, in terms of the model. Another that we might consider is, so we only use machine learning, we might consider doing deep learning. The only thing I would say there is there's only 2,500 samples, so it's not a huge data set, and so that might something we could explore, but I have some questions about whether that would improve the score that much. And then another one, I think we'd really try and get some hyperparameter tuning done on the model. We did do hyperparameter tuning, as we all know, that's very computationally expensive. So I think if we had a lot more time, we could just sort of set a grid search to run and see what happened. I think those are kind of three of the things I'd consider as improvements that we might be able to make. I don't know if anyone else has any suggestions.
You mentioned there was lots of features in the data. We might have guessed that the number of coffees is related to your quality of sleep. Were there any features that you were surprised by that we might not know?
Yeah, there are a few interesting ones. They're more medically orientated. So cholesterol was actually very well associated with that. Could be linear, but actually some of the best measurements to work out whether you've got poor sleep is like neck girth. Obviously, if you're more like heavy here, then you can't sleep well because you're like snoring away. But obviously, people don't take a tape measure around their neck. But that's something that we wouldn't have been able to pick out, and it's not, there's not that much literature on it either. So.
Any other questions?